This morning on DC News Now, Ian now weakened to a tropical storm, but continues to batter parts of Florida right now with heavy rainfall, damaging winds, and still seeing some flooding across parts of the area. But this will continue to track its way northbound, closing in on Georgia as well as the Carolinas, and could even bring some heavy rainfall in those locations. I'll have more details and the timing next.
This morning, widespread flooding in Florida. We're taking a first look at the damage left behind by Ian.
And lending a hand how DMV organizations are helping those impacted by the storm.
And a state of emergency, how leaders here in the DMV are preparing for the storm to head our direction this weekend.
All right, good Thursday morning. Your time right now is 6 o'clock. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Corey James.
And I'm Shanika Grimshaw in for Tanaya Wright. Now this morning we have team coverage on what first hit Florida as Hurricane Ian, but is now a tropical storm. We'll check in with our Lex Juarez live on local efforts to prepare for the effects of Ian in our area. But first, let's just check with Jackie Layer.
Yeah, well, the latest right now with Ian is that it is now downgraded to a tropical storm. But notice in this live shot right now from Florida that they're still seeing the impacts associated with Ian, with still strong winds as well as some heavy rainfall still moving through, and even still seeing some flooding associated with Ian. And because over the last 24 hours, some parts of Florida, we're talking from, say, just to the south of Tampa, but north of Cape Coral, saw about 16 to 17 inches of rainfall. That's on top of some of that storm surge flooding that we've seen videos of that were coming out of Florida yesterday. But here's a view of the radar right now. We can still see that spin in the atmosphere just south of Orlando, but we're still seeing these rain bands coming in off of the Atlantic and moving right along the northeastern coastline of Florida, but then even expanding even towards central Florida over towards Orlando at this point in time. Some of these rain bands are producing at least 2 to 3 inches per hour rainfall rates as we speak. So again, Tropical Storm Ian will continue to move its way northbound, will likely make a second landfall, but this will be right along the coast, likely of South Carolina as we look towards tomorrow afternoon, and then moving its way farther off towards the north and weakening as it moves over farther inland, and likely will be shredded apart. But by the time it moves back here towards our area, we're going to be talking about scattered rain showers associated with Ian through the weekend. At least this weekend we're talking about. Temperatures out there right now, though, it's a bit of a chilly start to our day. 57, though, in D.C., one of the warmer spots, but back off towards the north and west. We're talking mid-upper 40s to low 50s. 52 in Frederick, 50 in Leesburg, and into the mid-upper 40s out towards Cumberland, Kaiser, as well as Winchester. So you may need that jacket before stepping out the door this morning. As we look ahead towards the next several days, we're looking at high temperatures into the low 60s through the weekend as the remnants of Ian moves in. Could even see some wind gusts in excess of 30 miles per hour coming up this weekend as well. But I'll have more details looking towards the rest of the 7-day coming up.
And this morning, people in southwest Florida are waking up to the destruction left by Hurricane Ian. Now the Category 4 storm slammed the coast, washing out roads and trapping people in flooded homes.
And according to officials, there are more than 1 million people in the dark and could be without power for days.
Now, there are crews that are still working outside of southwest Florida, but just understand that number is going to grow. You're going to see more power outages as this storm moves through the center part of our state.
Meantime, Virginia Task Force 1, which deployed to Florida, is standing by to help. The task force tweeted out these photos of the team preparing as they wait for assignments. Right now, it is unclear exactly what they will be doing, but it is expected to be search and rescue missions. And Virginia is now under a state of emergency as Hurricane Ian heads that way. Governor Youngkin making that call late last night. And this morning, D.C. is making plans to deal with the rainfall on the way as well. Our Lex Juarez is live in Southeast as crews prepare this morning. Good morning, Lex.
Good morning, Corey. That's right. I'm inside of the Emergency Operations Center here at DC's HCMA's headquarters. Now, this is the place where Alert DC is run out of, where basically it's the hub for any time there is a big emergency that's happening within the city and where they monitor what's going on. This is where all of the agencies come together for that interagency collaboration. Now, as far as this storm was Hurricane Ian, now Tropical Storm Ian, the crews here have been monitoring and watching that since the National Weather Service first started tracking it themselves. Now, they say it is too soon to tell exactly how it's going to be impacting. So right now, they're just monitoring it, trying to stay prepared, and they're recommending and encouraging residents to do the same, especially those who live in floodplains or flood-prone areas. Now, they are asking people to not only watch the news, but also sign up for Alert DC and to check into their own emergency preparedness kits. Now, that means we're, reviewing their emergency plans, checking out their non-perishable items, but also if they need a little help doing that, they have a website set up. It's called ready.dc.gov. It can help anybody who needs help while they are, getting prepared and just making sure that they are ready if an emergency does come from this storm, especially looking at flooding as we are, going to be seeing rain coming into our area. Coming up a little bit later today, I'll be talking to the director of HCEMA, and we're going to be getting some more tips and a little bit more about what the operation's like over here. But for now, I'm Lex Juarez, live in Southeast DC, DC News Now.
This morning, Florida is looking at rescue and recovery efforts after Hurricane Ian first tore through the southwest part of the state as a Category 4 storm.
It is now a tropical storm, but let's go live to Ann Wyatt Little from our sister station in Fort Myers. And Ann, you've described what has happened over the last 24 hours. How is it right now?
Yeah, good morning, Corey and Shanika. Conditions are calm right now, and that's really going to help first responders reach those people who are still stuck in their homes. Many called for help yesterday during the height of the storm, but local officials say it just simply was not safe enough to put the lives of those first responders at risk. We have seen several fire crews and police officers and county maintenance workers driving around trying to assess the damage. You can see we've got some of that right behind us here, and there's even water on the roads. It's still pretty dark out here. Most of the area is without power, so it's hard to see. So we're really hoping once the sun comes up and crews are able to assess, they'll be able to really get a game plan together, because the rescue and recovery will be a long road. Corey and Shanika?
And can you tell us what happens next, Ann? Have crews started to move in for rescue and recovery efforts, and when does that begin?
Not soon enough for people who are here in need of help. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis all week has been talking about crews staged in places to get into those hardest hit areas. So we do expect to start seeing those utility crews roll into town. And we do know that search and rescue teams from your area as far away as Texas are deploying to Florida to try to go through these homes. We know some of them were just lifted off their foundation and floated away in the storm surge yesterday. So the video and images coming out of Southwest Florida are hard to look at, and just the beginning of the damage and the scope and magnitude of what Hurricane Ian did to this community. I'll send it back to you.
All right, thank you, Ann. All right, let's turn things over to Christy for traffic.
Hey guys, well, things are looking pretty good. Here's your live look this morning. 495, Maryland 97. Nice and free flowing. So if you're heading out right now, you should be good to go. And that applies for a lot of our region. We're just seeing a little bit of red right over here in DC. But we do want to talk to you about an incident right here. This is on 66 in Northern Virginia. That's near Centerville. Looks like there is some construction going on there. But overall, you guys should be looking pretty good.
Thank you, Christy. Breaking now this morning, D.C. police are investigating a shooting overnight in Northeast. It happened near North Capitol and P Street. Our contributor Larry Calhoun at D.C. Real Time News reports one person was taken to the hospital with multiple gunshot wounds. D.C. police have not put out a description of any suspects. And developing now, police working to piece together a Union Station shooting that shut down the evening commute. Multiple police departments came together on the west end of Union Station yesterday. An Amtrak spokesperson tells us one person suffered a minor foot injury and another person is in custody. The news shocked passengers who said this was an unusual thing to happen in the area.
It's really sad. You know, this is one of the places we don't expect a shooting, but I guess nowadays it can happen anywhere. So I'm just going to be careful.
It's a little surprising. I hope to hear that everything is okay. Hope no one was injured.
Union Station is a busy hub for both visitors and people living in the DMV. Currently, more than 40 million people pass through a year, according to the station's website.
Your time right now is 6:10. Boxer Dusty Hernandez-Harrison grappling with loss, but also preparing to fight in round 3 of the Beltway battles this weekend. Last Saturday, Dusty's father, Buddy Harrison, was shot and killed in D.C. The professional boxer says his dad trained him his entire life and is the reason he stayed undefeated throughout his boxing career. Dusty says he plans to honor his father in the ring this weekend.
I needed something to kind of hold myself accountable. I mean, I got to weigh in Friday. I got to fight Saturday. And I think it's something that I needed, and I think it's something that my dad would have wanted because he was at his best when I was fighting. He loved the fact that I was fighting.
And round 3 of the Beltway battles is this Saturday night at 7 o'clock. It will take place at the Entertainment and Sports Arena in D.C. We'll also have full coverage of the fight right here on D.C. News Now.
Happening now, D.C. police are raising the stakes for information on a man accused of shooting at officers. There's now a $55,000 reward for information that leads to an arrest. Avery Miller is suspected of killing 25-year-old R.E.A. Wolf in southeast D.C. in August. Police found Miller Tuesday, but they lost him after they say he fired shots at officers. Right now, police are worried he's a serious threat to the public.
Now, in this case, this suspect had no regard for anybody's life, had no regard for the safety of our communities. In broad daylight, early in the morning when people are going to work, kids are going to school, he decided it was okay to pull a firearm and just discharge it recklessly in the direction of uniformed officers. That's not acceptable here in the district in any community, and we're not going to tolerate that.
D.C. police strongly encourage you to contact them if you know where Miller may be or if you spot him.